All right, well, good morning, everybody. We'll dive in here from everybody. Just let me know if anyone's having audio challenges. It should be live here. Just on your end, make sure that you've got your speakers up, but everything should be good on my end. So yeah, type into the box if you're having any troubles, but it sounds like most people are good to go. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cory Redekop. I'm the Director of Policy and Stakeholder Relations with the Burnaby Board of Trade. If you're new to the Board of Trade, you're not sure who the heck we are the Chamber of Commerce for the city of Burnaby and the economic development partner for the city. So we do everything that chambers traditionally do around convening the business community and creating that platform for collaboration. But beyond that, we're a little bit kind of chamber plus in the sense that we also are a catalyst for economic growth and development, and we work quite closely with the city on that. And we're really a champion for business interests, and we do a lot of government advocacy work, and we've been doing tons of that lately to make sure that government is hearing from businesses on what has to be happening to make the economy as strong as it can be. And right now, I can tell you that's taking up almost all of our time is engaging with government. We're on calls every day with the federal government. We're chatting with the mayor and the MLAs constantly to make sure that we're getting the details from our members and our business community out to the government and vice versa. So for the session today, I wanted to go over just some of the most recent details that we've had coming out from the program. Obviously, there's a lot of attention being paid to the wage subsidy program because that is starting on Monday, application for that. But we've had some new announcements and some quite tight time frames for some other programs that have been announced. So I'll go over things like the student benefits and the new funding for pre-revenue and innovation companies that's coming through the Industrial Research Assistance Program, because that is very short time frame that you can take advantage of that. I've typed into the chat box. If you scroll to the very top, you'll see my email address there, cory@bbot.ca, and you'll see our website, bbot.ca/COVID-19. Everything I'm going over is all posted there. I won't be able to get into all the different tax deferrals and programs that are in existence, but everything will be posted there. And you can see that at the top of that page, right under the graphic, you'll be able to see where you can sign up to make sure you're getting the details directly from us in our updates. Those are coming a couple times a week. Just some quick bits of housekeeping. I wanted to do a thank you and a shout out to our annual partners, the organizations, the corporate citizens that really step up throughout the year to help the Board of Trade. So at the platinum level, we have the Burnaby Now and the BCIT School of Business. Our gold partners are Fortis BC, Electronic Arts, ABC Recycling, SFU, Pacific Blue Cross, and Douglas College. And our silver partners are Alexander College, Appia Development, Trans Mountain, the Port of Vancouver, and Scotiabank. So thanks to them for all that they do throughout the year to support us and the Board of Trade here. And really, the point of these calls, and I'll be scheduling a couple more for next week, is to give you the latest we're hearing from government and to bring back from you any ideas or thoughts or gaps that we want to be addressing. That's how we're seeing things like how we're going from 10% to 75% on the wage subsidy, how we're broadening the emergency interest-free loan programs, all the things we're seeing, how they're kind of announced in one way and then they're changed. That's because people like us are knocking at the door constantly saying, you've missed something, it needs to be better, it needs to be faster. So any input you have is also valuable. I will also plug, it'll be the first thing you see when you go to our website on the rotating banners, our advice sessions. Friday is the last day to request one of those. We have local experts in legal, HR, sales, marketing, IT, finance, and banking, and they're all offering free sessions to give you some tips and advice in those areas for your business. So if you had legal questions or IT questions about what's going on right now, or anything like that, we've got some resources lined up for you as well. So you can go to our website, bbot.ca, and that should be the first rotating banner you see when you go there. So I want to dive in. I'll get to the wage subsidy in a moment because there's lots of stuff going on that one. But because the most timely one is the Industrial and Innovation Assistance Program, I wanted to go over a little bit about that. I'll touch on the student program. We'll do a walkthrough of the wage subsidy, and then I'll make sure there's time for questions if anybody has things in particular. But the first thing I want to mention for anybody who is or knows or is has a client who is an innovation-based, technology-based company that's usually pre-revenue. So what's happening is they're not eligible for any of the wage subsidy programs that have been in existence so far, because they're pre-revenue. So they're R&D, they're doing the research stage, they're not yet commercialized, so they don't have the revenue to show a revenue decline. So they've been missed, but it's a very important segment here in Burnaby. We have a lot of biotech, green tech, and just technology companies in general. So this program is, called the Innovation Assistance Program. It's run through IRAP. They have $250 million to do wage subsidies specifically for these companies. So you need to be a technology-driven innovation company that's ineligible for the regular wage subsidies, up to 500 employees. So there's not a big size restriction on that. And it's really for those companies that are planning to pursue growth by developing and commercializing innovation and technology-driven products. The applications opened yesterday. The applications close Wednesday. So this isn't an ongoing wage subsidy program like the two main ones we have for everybody else. This is a very narrow window. It closes Wednesday, April 29th at 8:59 our time. I know it says 11:59 on the website, but that's Eastern. So just before 9:00 p.m. on this coming Wednesday, that's it. This application period closes. So if you're a business that could benefit from this, I think there's a few of you on the line. Make sure that you're taking advantage of this program and you're getting that application in, because that one for the Innovation Assistance Program, the applications for the wage subsidy for that one end on Wednesday the 29th. So that information is all on our website, and the application is live now, so you can go take a look at that one. But I wanted to flag that just because it's a bit targeted on who it's for, but it's also very narrow in the window that you're able to apply for it. So that was one that was announced. The details, that was announced earlier in the week, and the details have just come out. I guess that was announced last week, and the details just came out earlier in this week on that. I've had a few people ask me questions around the student and new grad program, so I'll just touch on that, because it's not really applicable to most of our businesses, but you very well may have people in your families or employees that would want to know about this. So this was announced yesterday, I think, though the days are all blending together now. But this is a few different things, a number of things that have been announced for students, but there's three things that were announced. I'll just touch on them quickly. The main one is the Canada Emergency Student Benefit. So this is going to be for people who couldn't find work. So the wage subsidy programs we have now are the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, the CERB benefit, is a wage replacement benefit. It's not a wage supplement in the truest sense. So it's really meant if you've lost a job, then you can go and get CERB. So for students that never had a job in the first place because they were going to be looking for one, they were left out. So this is going to be giving them $1,250 a month for those who are who have lost work or unable to find work, and who are ineligible for the CERB benefit. So that's coming. The legislation needs to be passed, so that has to be written and debated and passed. So we'll get the details on that. We will be looking and encouraging to allow a similar amount of earnings for students as they have in the CERB benefit. You'll remember that in the CERB benefit, you can earn up to $1,000 a month before you're cut off of that program. Again, we don't want to see a situation where you're incentivizing now students to not go to work. We know we have a few businesses who are using students part-time now, and we don't want to see a situation where it makes more sense for them just to quit and go on this benefit as opposed to working in the economy. So we'll be pushing on that. There is going to be a service grant for students who volunteer, between the $1,000 and $5,000 one-time grant over the summer, and they're doubling Canada student grants for low to medium income students. But those details are all still coming. Just want to touch on that because that is the newest announcement. But the main thing I know a lot of people are asking about is the wage subsidy. So that is the big program, $100 billion or something. That's the main benefit that most businesses are going to be able to take advantage of. Applications are going to be opening on Monday. Now, there's not really a need to rush into it. They're thinking they're going to have faster turnaround times once they start turning them around than they did with the CERB benefit, and that was only a handful of days. So it should be pretty quick. And they're saying they're going to take the first week to get applications, and then they're going to start processing them on May 6th, so the next Monday. And then they're thinking it shouldn't be very long after that, the money will start rolling. So we kind of had gone from a maximum of 12 weeks before this would roll out. We've gotten that right down. And again, I think in part because of the pressure a lot of us have been putting on government. So right now, There is go to our website, Google it. The application site is up. It's not live for the application, but the site is up, and there's an online calculator and a spreadsheet. So we're encouraging everyone to take a look at that. One, you can figure out what numbers you're going to need, and you can kind of crunch those numbers, because the first period that you can apply for is for wages paid March 15th to April 11th. So you have all that information now, because April 11th has come and gone. So you can get all the details and all the numbers you need ready. You can calculate the percentages and things, so you have everything ready to go when it opens. You're able to apply. We're also encouraging everyone to make sure that you go and get your the CRA My Business account. Make sure you have the passwords for that. You have your all the numbers and things you need. It lays it all out on the website what they want you to do. But it makes sense to do all that now, so that you're not trying to struggle to figure that out once the applications are opening. So I'm going to run through a bit of a walkthrough on the wage subsidy, just so you're aware of what's going on. There's still some confusion from government. Again, I was on a phone call. I say it every morning. I got a different answer today than I got yesterday on one of the questions. So they're still working themselves out. I'm sure they'll be working themselves out until Sunday at midnight, when this thing goes live on Monday morning. But I'm going to give you a walkthrough. First, the program, there are two wage subsidy programs. There is the 75% one we're talking about now, and there is still the 10% temporary wage subsidy that they announced in the end of March. That's really important, because I'm going to get to why that's really important, but they are both active, and you'll want to know about both of them. So first, eligibility for the 75% wage subsidy. It's everybody. So it's all businesses, not-for-profits, charities, foreign-owned, domestic-owned, doesn't matter. You just have to meet a gross revenue decline of at least 15%. Make sure you didn't miss that. 15% for March, and then a 30% decline in gross revenues for April and for May. And then you're able to get the benefits for the 3 periods. How those periods are working is when you would be comparing the March revenue, 15%. If you meet that threshold, that allows you to get your wages paid for March 15th to April 11th. That's the first claiming period. That's one that we can all apply for as soon as this is opened on Monday. The next period is April 12th to May 9th. And then the last period is May 10th to June 6th. So they keep saying March, April, May, but it's not all of March, all of April, all of May. It is those 3 4-week periods that kind of straddle those months. So March 15th to April 11th, April 12th to May 9th, May 10th to June 6th. You'll have to you have to qualify for at least 2 of them to get all 3, and let me explain how that's going to happen. So so if you can meet the 15%, if you can meet the 15% threshold for March, you will be eligible for that March payroll period, so March 15th to April 11th, and you'll automatically be assumed that you're eligible for the next one, which is the April 12th to the May 9th. So you're only going to have to then worry about qualifying for the May period. And vice versa, if you don't meet the March threshold, but you can meet that April one, then they're going to assume you're going to be good for April and the next one. So you only ever have to apply twice or qualify twice for the program. They're going to always assume that once you qualify once, the next period is one that you're also going to be qualifying for. So if you meet March qualifications for 15% decline, then you're good for March and you're good for April. So your payroll is going to be covered all the way from March 15th to May 9th. Then you just have to worry about whether you meet the May threshold of May being down 30%. Now, how you measure that 30%, there's a few choices you have to make. It is a comparison of either year over year, so March over March, April over April last year, or it is a comparison of an average of January, February 2020 revenue. You have to pick one, and you can only pick one, and it applies to all the whole program. So for new companies that have grown a lot since 2019, it might make sense for you to do a January, February comparison, but you want to look at what makes the most sense for you to get yourself eligible for this program. So year over year, or an average against an average of Jan Feb. You can also have to choose whether you're going to be recognizing your revenue on a cash basis or accrual. So what that means, either you're counting March revenue for jobs done in March and invoices sent in March, regardless of when the money comes in, or if you're going to be operating on a cash basis. Again, you have to choose one method for the duration of the program. And if you're in a not-for-profit or a charity, just FYI that you can choose whether you include government funding in the calculations or you don't. Again, that's a choice you make, and then you're stuck with that the whole time. But there is no cap on the number of employees or the size of payroll. You just have to have actual payroll. So I want to emphasize that there needs to be a T4 employment income. There needs to be an employer-employee relationship. So if you're some of your staff are contractors, if you're paying that a contractor accountant, if you're paying them as part of your big wage pool where you do your CTP and your withholding taxes, then that's payroll. But if you're paying them on accounting, here's my money for my accountant, that's a contractor, that's not wages. Same thing's going to be for business owners. If you're taking income from the business, if you're being paid a wage, a regular wage, again T4 income, then you would be covered for the wage subsidy because you're taking wages. It would need to be, obviously you probably wouldn't be taking EI off that, but if you're taking CPP and those kind of things, that's a wage. You're good to go. If you're taking income as personal business income, dividend, investment income, then that is not wages, so that won't count. And sole proprietor, so if I'm Cory, the electrician, if I'm a sole proprietor, by definition, all my income is personal business income, is not a wage. So that's not going to work for me. If I have 3 other guys working for me, and I'm paying them wages, well, then I'm fine, even if I'm a sole proprietor, but my income is not wages. So it needs to be a wage. And how much it's going to cover is interesting, and there's a little bit of a game we can play on this. So it's 75% of the first 58,700. So it's going to be a max of 847 for every week. The important thing to note here is that it's going to be covering the actual. You can look at it either. There's a calculation either the actual wages paid in a week. They want you to know what the pre-crisis weekly pay, or the baseline they're calling it, pay. So it'll cover either what you've actually paid them in the week. It'll cover 75% of what they were earning if they've had a pay cut, and everything maxes at 847. What that means is, say you've got somebody making $1,000 a week, and that's what they were making before all the crisis hit. If you're able to still pay them the $1,000 now, and you have them on the payroll, well, then you're going to get 75% of the wages you're paying. So that's $750. That's under the 847 max. You're going to get $750. Now, if they are, so you would be paying $250, and you'd be getting a $750 supplement. So the employee is going to get $1,000. If that person who is making $1,000, say your business is closed, say you have you're physically closed, you're a restaurant, you're a hair salon, you're whatever, you're not working, or you're right down to bare bones. If you have that person who is making $1,000, you bring them back, or you keep them on, but say you're only paying them $750 now because you've had a pay cut. Well, remember, it's going to cover 75% of the employee's pre-crisis weekly pay. So that would be $750. So for you as an employer, you're actually in that case going to be out $0 because the wage subsidy is going to cover 100% of that amount because it's still 75% of their pre-crisis weekly pay. So there is an incentive if you have people sitting at home who have been laid off. There is an incentive to bring them back and at least pay them 75% of their pre-crisis pay. To then they're able to get that money, and you're actually not out anything, and they could be doing work for you. If there is another incentive, if employees which are paid using the subsidy, but if they're not doing any work. So again, if you're able to bring people back, the government wants people to get back into the workforce and be attached to an employer. So if you have people who are coming in and they're not doing any work, so they're on leave with pay or what's called furloughed, then you'll also be able to apply to get 100% of your employer-paid contributions to EI and CPP back. So there's a lot of incentives here to bring people back onto the payroll, even though they're not going to be doing much work, or even if you're going to be having them sit at home doing no work, but they can still get paid through the subsidy. So why that benefits us as employers is that it keeps those employees engaged and attached to us. The last thing we want to see, believe it or not, a month or two ago, we were all talking about how bloody hard it was to find employees, and that was what was dragging the economy down. So we don't want to get in a situation where, okay, we can all start our businesses back up, and now we're all looking for staff because we've lost people through attrition, and we've just lost connection with our employees who've been sitting at home for 2 months. So having that connection maintained is an important thing for employers. So consider that as an option there. Now, why did I mention it's important, about the 10% wage subsidy program? So I'm going to preface this by saying everything can change. This is this story that I got a different answer to both times. But when I read the legislation, and God help me, I actually sit down and read legislation. There's a calculation in there. here we go. It's A minus B minus C plus D. So what that means is the part we're looking at is A minus B. So A is going to be the subsidy you're able to get. And you're going to see this when you go to the website and you do the calculator to figure out how much subsidy you can get. Read the language on that site. You have to subtract the amount of that 10% wage subsidy that you were eligible for, regardless or not of whether you actually took it. So if you're going to get $10,000 through the wage subsidy, you were eligible to take 10% of your payroll. Say you have a $10,000 payroll, you have been since March 18th eligible to take a 10% decline or 10% deduction on your payroll and get that back as a wage subsidy. They're going to be, unless they change things, but I don't see how they're going to because it's in the actual law. They're going to be clawing that back, that 10%. So that part you're not going to get as part of a payment from the 75% wage subsidy. It's still your money. You're still eligible to get that. And what CRA has told me is they're going to be looking at it as an overpayment. So they're going to assume that you should have been taking that off of your deduction or your remittance to CRA, and it's going to be an overpayment. So I'm going to be trying to sort out, and so stay tuned on how we're supposed to get that money back, because if they're going to be clawing it out of the 75%, we want to make sure we're all getting it. So you can, the CRA says you can at the end of the year claim it back as an overpayment in remittance, but I'd rather us not all wait the end of the year to get that. So we'll be looking at how you can do that going forward. So stay tuned. Hopefully there's some details that get clarified between now and Monday, but as of right now, you look at the language on the calculator, you hear what I've heard from CRA. These two things do intertwine a little bit, and we're still trying to sort that out. So if you do the calculations on the spreadsheet, you go to that calculator. If you notice that bit, I think it's step 4, where it says the amount you're eligible to claim for the 10% wage subsidy. That's what that means, and we're still trying to push and get some real clarity on that and how we're supposed to get that money. You'll also see on step 4, and this was another question that a lot of people asked, was about how does this interact with work sharing? It doesn't. So if you are in a work sharing situation through EI with any of your employee groups, any benefits that the employees have received through EI and work sharing will be clawed back off of your 75% wage subsidy. So these two programs do not mix, the work sharing and the 75% wage subsidy. So you might want to look at whether it makes sense to wrap up the work sharing and bring everybody back under the wage subsidy. But take a look at the website. Our website links out to CRA's calculator and spreadsheet there. So there's a lot of good information. But yeah, that's a little bit of a hiccup that I was looking at there. So I'm just going to dive into this. I know there's a few questions here. I just want to finish up on some of the other things I wanted to flag, and then we can get to those. I did want to mention the Canada Emergency Business Account. I know a lot of people have been looking at that. Pardon me. That opened, I think, on Monday, the application. So this is those interest-free lines of credit or loans up to $40,000. So we did have a little bit of a win on expanding the criteria there. We're not done pushing for those to be expanded. But right now it's organizations with a total payroll of between 20,000 and $1.5 million. You're able to access these $40,000 loans through your financial institution. So you would go to your bank or your credit union, your main one. They're a bit fanatical about people applying more than once. You go to your main bank and they will hook you up with this. You can access up to $40,000. So why this is really key, especially right now while we're in this kind of flux period, because the loans are flowing now. I know people who've already got them. So you get the $40,000 loan. It's interest free, no payments until the end of 2022. And if you can pay it back by then, you only have to pay back 75% of it. You can keep the 25% as a forgivable grant. So that can be up to $10,000, and if you take the max. So what I'm thinking a lot of businesses are going to be doing, and what might make a lot of sense, you go get the loan today for $40,000. You're going to use that to pay your payroll, your operating expenses. So let's say you're using it to pay your wages for the next little while. Once the wage subsidy actually starts paying off the money, then you get the wage subsidy. You use the wage subsidy to pay back the loan. You get $10,000 as a free grant. So this is a really good, useful tool if you're eligible for it. I know there's a few people on the line who we've chatted are not because of the thresholds. But if you're eligible for it, I would encourage you to look at the Canada Emergency Business Account interest-free lines of credit loan up to 40,000. You do have to have, again, that payroll. So it needs to be between 20,000 and no more than 1.5 million. T4 payroll. So if you're a sole proprietor, again, you don't have that payroll. You're not excluded just by being a sole proprietor, but you have to have some employees as part of your sole proprietorship. If it's just you earning personal business income, you're not going to be eligible. That is a glaring hole that we've been trying to get them to address, is what are we doing for sole proprietors, solopreneurs, business owners themselves. So I know there's a few questions on the wage subsidy. I threw a lot of stuff out there. So the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy application. So the window for application. So yeah, so the application is going to be opening on Monday. It is, pardon me. There's no rush to do it right away, to apply for it right away. So I don't know what the actual final cutoff is, but it's not like if you don't apply immediately, you're good. The April 29th date I was mentioning, that is for the innovation wage subsidy, whole separate program running through IRAP. So the innovation assistance program, I believe it was called. That's for pre-revenue companies. So people doing R&D who don't obviously meet the revenue thresholds for the regular wage subsidy. That program ends on the 29th. You can't apply after that. Regular wage subsidy, you're good to go. Just apply normally when you get a chance sometime next week. So there's a question here from Bailey. So an employee is making $1,000 a week and the wage subsidy covers $750, means the employer covers $250 for that employee. Yes. Yeah. So your deductions. Yeah. So this is going to be. So it's a question about what you deduct on. So you're paying, because you're going to be paying the employee their wages today, or yeah, I guess, or tomorrow. Say your payroll tomorrow. You're going to run your payroll tomorrow to pay this pay period. You need to do all your normal deductions and remittances as normal, because this is a rebate you're getting back, and it's taxable income the government's giving you. So you're going to have to make sure you're declaring this as income on your business, for your business. So no, you're going to be running your payroll as normal. You're going to be doing all your remittances and deductions as normal, and then only then afterwards, once the pay period's all passed and we're past that one period, then you're going to apply for the rebate for that. So again, that first period, for example, was March 15th to April 11th. So all during that time, we were paying normally, doing deductions and remittances normally. Now that April 11th has come and gone, we're able to look backwards and apply for that period. So on Monday, you're not going to be able to apply for the whole thing. You're going to only be able to apply on Monday for that first period, because you don't know what your payroll is yet for the next period, because it goes until May. So that's how that's going to work on deductions. If you're treated as normal, you get a rebate after the fact. If any other questions, make sure you pop them into the chat box there. Just wanted to flag again the emergency response benefit, the CERB. I think there's like 8 million people who've applied for that, so everyone probably already, that's horse has left the barn. But that is the benefit where you can get $2,000 per 4-week block for people who have lost income and lost work because of COVID-19. Remember that they did change this. So you are able to earn at least $1,000 of income during the period. So it's a little bit more flexibility for people who are working reduced hours. But that is a program that is still up and running. The applications are opened on the 6th of April. So that's all up and running now. So if your employees or anybody is out of work and isn't able to earn any income or very little income, they're able to apply for that benefit. And then I think other than that, I just want to flag that the things like the BC temporary rental supplement are up and running now. So if you have anybody who's a renter, that's available. I did want to flag for a few businesses who didn't know about some of the programs that different agencies are doing. So I would look at any bill you have. So if you're paying Fortis, a gas bill, look at what they're offering. Fortis has some programs that they have. If you're paying your hydro bill, if you get a hydro bill, Hydro's got some programs that are open. The applications opened this week, I believe, as well. Where if your business is actually closed, but there's some tertiary electricity use that's going on, you can get that bill completely waived. So there's a few different things. Canada Post just came out. If you aren't in your office, you want to get your mail forwarded somewhere else, or you want to get your mail stopped so it's not piling up, they're doing that for free now as well. So I would just keep in mind looking at all the different things that are out there. that you would be getting a cost from, and just maybe dig into, go to their website and see if it's not on our website, go to their website and see what might be out there as well. And then lastly, before I just go back for more questions, I wanted to touch base on property taxes, commercial leases, and rents. I know this is a big problem, big crisis facing the business community, especially small business, is how do we keep paying our rents when we have no income coming in. So this has been a huge issue that we've been pushing. There was an announcement last week, which is going to help a decent amount on this. There's still probably work to be done, but on property taxes at least. So why property taxes matter is if you're in a triple net lease, so if you're a tenant and you're paying property taxes as part of your rent every month, that portion is a direct result of whatever the property tax bill is. It's a calculation. So if we can get property taxes brought down, that would flow through triple net leases to make your actual rents and leases less. And I know some businesses where the property tax component of their lease is bigger than the actual lease itself. So they're paying, say they're paying $500 for their lease, they're paying $600 a month in property taxes. It's crazy for some people. So the province has agreed to make an effective cut of the property taxes by 25%. So when the bills all come out in May and June for the cities, they should be 25% less than they were going to. So that would be, property taxes never go down, so it's going to be 25% less than it was last year as well. So you should see, as a triple net lease tenant, you should see a direct reduction in whatever proportion of your rent is property taxes. That should be coming down by 25%. So I would be having a conversation with your landlord just to make sure they're aware that that is coming, and make sure they're aware that you're aware that's coming. There has also been a de facto deferral of these taxes until October 1st. That really only benefits the person paying the tax bill itself, which is the property owner. But again, if the property owner doesn't have to pay these taxes until 4 months, 5 months later, that could be the impetus for a conversation to say, hey, is there any more flexibility we can have? I know it's a bit hit and miss on who's an individual property owners, but I've talked to both people who have mom pop small business, people who have individual property managers or landlords, and I've talked to some of the big institutional property managers and property owners. On both ends, most of the ones I've talked to are being flexible. So if you haven't had a conversation with your landlord yet about what are the options and what can they do with you, I would have that conversation, have that honest conversation with them and see what they're able to do for you. Because at the very least, if you're paying property taxes, you should be getting a 25% reduction from this. There is still a program coming out from the federal government around a commercial lease assistance program. Still working on the details of that because leases are provincial jurisdiction. The feds can't just act on their own. This is going to be working similar to the residential rent program, where it's going to flow to the landlord. So they're going to be giving money to property owners only, and they're only going to be able to get that money if they in turn offer extensions, deferrals, reductions to their tenants. So if someone cuts the rent by half, they can get some money from the government to help them make that possible. So we don't have any details yet on what that looks like, but that should be coming imminently. So that was it for what I wanted to go over here. We had a question from Karen here on the 10% wage qualification. So good point on what this 10% thing, what were the requirements for that? That one didn't have the threshold for revenue decline. So that's where they're different. You just have to be a small business. So it was a not-for-profit, a charity, or a small a small Canadian-controlled corporation. So the two main differences between this one are there's no threshold. You don't have to meet a 15% or a 30% decline in revenue, but you can't be foreignly owned. So if your owner of your business is American, or if it's publicly traded and shares are owned by foreign interests, you're not going to be eligible for the 10% program. And you have to be eligible for the small business deduction. You have to be a small business, which means you have less than 15 million in taxable capital. So I know the vast majority of businesses in Canada are eligible for the small business deduction, but just be aware if you're sitting on if the corporation is sitting on a lot of cash or a lot of assets, you might not be eligible for the 10%. But that's the only criteria for that one. It's just you're a small business, Canadian owned, and then you just get 10% of your wages paid between March 18th and June 20th. And that's another thing where it's a bit confusing is The 75% one starts on May 15th. The 10% one starts on May 18th. So we will be, I've got calls all scheduled all day today and tomorrow. I'm going to try to figure out what is going on with this 10% and how it's interacting with the 75% one. And we'll also get the details there. But yeah, they're both programs are still running right now. The deadline to apply for the $40,000 loan, I haven't seen a deadline yet. There's a finite amount of money they put behind it, so I imagine when that runs out, that'll run out. But no, I haven't seen the deadline as to when they want these things done by. So I think you've got a bit of time before you need to worry about it. I mean, again, there's no benefit to waiting. So if it's something that you think you might be eligible for, I would go at it and just at least start the ball rolling on that. And there was one question Constantine had for the CEPD 2000. Is that the CERB benefit I'm thinking? So that's the, I think you're mentioning the CERB benefit, which is a $2,000 a month, a restriction on 14 days and $1,000. So yes, there's some technical language around that, but you're supposed to earn, technically you're not supposed to earn more than $1,000 within a 14-day consecutive period when you first apply for the CERB benefit. And then going forward, you're supposed to be attesting that you're not going to be earning more than $1,000 for the whole month. Because they changed that half of the game. I don't think they even figured out how they're going to manage that. But yeah, you're just technically not supposed to have more than $1,000 income coming in the first time within 14-day period. So where this is there is some interplay here. Is if somebody has taken the CERB benefit, that's the individual $2,000 benefit, and then they're rehired using the wage subsidy, someone brings them back, so now they're getting an income. The business is not going to be on the hook for that. I have confirmation from CRA that the business is not on the hook for any of that thing. But if someone has gotten money, because the CERB benefit is looking forward. So remember, the wage subsidy is a rebate going back. The CERB benefit is I'm not expecting to have income for 4 weeks, so give me the $2,000. If you then get the money in that 4-week period and you go back to work, you're technically supposed to pay that back as an individual. So I'm sure they will figure a way of getting that back at the end of the year for tax time. They'll be able to see, okay, well, wait a second, you got T4 income and you got CERB from us, so give it back to us. So that individual should be aware that if they're hired back, they may need to pay back that CERB benefit. And there will be some information coming from CRA around what that looks like and the mechanisms to do that. It's interest-free, there's no penalty. They understand people would have applied for that in good faith, not expecting to go back to work, and then they got brought back. But the business doesn't need to worry about that. The business is fine to use the wage subsidy and bring people back, even if they may have gotten CERB. The individual should be aware that if you said you weren't going to be getting any income and now you are, that you should be figured you may need to be paying that CERB benefit back. Okay, so I'm going to put in my email address here. Any questions, feel free to put to me directly, and I can chat with you offline about those. Happy to jump on a call with anybody to go over things in more detail. I know there's a lot of moving parts around the wage subsidy. There's a lot of stuff around what counts as income, what counts as wages. So happy to chat about that. But yeah, I'll be scheduling the next couple of calls for next week. So hopefully we have some more details and we'll see how the wage subsidy rolls out. But definitely check our website, bbot.ca/COVID-19. There's more information on supports for your workers and the self-employed. There's more information on changes to the Employment Standards Act that have come into effect, both for just now and permanent changes that have happened around job protected leave. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on there about what's going on. So make sure you take a look at that and sign up for our notes. But trust the Board of Trade. I mean, we've always been here for business for 113 years. But right now, all of our staff is redirected to outreach to businesses, to pushing government to act on these things, trying to get to you. And I'm hoping I'm doing an okay job of common sense, boiled down language around these programs, because yeah, I mean, I read the legislation and it's mind boggling. So we're trying to distill that so it's as clear as it can be for businesses. So know that you've got an ally here at the Board of Trade, at the Chamber. All staff are here and are still working remotely. Again, appreciate you taking the time to be here this morning. Again, I'm doing these sessions twice a week, so share them with your colleagues, share them with contacts. They can be anybody. They don't have to be in Burnaby. They don't have to be a member of the Board of Trade. I'd love to have 100 people on this call, just because I'm happy to explain what we know, and I'm more than happy to get questions and identify gaps that I can take to business. So thanks everybody. Stay safe, stay strong. We're going to get through this, and hopefully sooner than we thought, and we can get back to some measure of normal business here. So take care of yourself, and we'll chat again soon.